Well, hello there, and today we'll be covering the top 10 GeoGuessr tips for Argentina. Tip number 1. So, in Argentina, you can get two different types of license plates that can be useful. The one that's most useful is the black dot. So, if you have a black dot on a license plate, you should be only in Argentina. You don't get that in Uruguay or any other neighbouring countries. You can also get this blue strip on the top for Generation 4 coverage on some vehicles, but be aware you can also get this in Brazil, and if Uruguay gets new coverage in the future, you'll probably see more in Uruguay as well. Tip number 2. My second tip is that Argentina has a black Google car, and when you have a black Google car in South America, you can either be in Argentina, Peru, or Uruguay. Tip number 3. You can also use other things in the background to help confirm Argentina over Uruguay. So first of all, if you've got like these two concrete poles that are kind of attached to each other, that is unique to Argentina. And you see a lot more big concrete poles that are cylinder shaped in Argentina over Uruguay. You can also get these squarish reflectors that you can only really get in Argentina or Uruguay, as far as I am aware, in South America, but I might be wrong. But the more important thing is the road chevron. So if you have a white background with a red arrow in South America, you should only be in Argentina. And it's also good to be aware of the road signs. So you can get like these highway signs that say RN35, so you find the main 35 road. And the provincial highways, you will have a different type of sign and a different type of logo. So just be aware of that, and that can really help you with the pinpointing. Tip number 4. You can also get different bollards in Argentina, but they are very, very rare. But whenever I've seen this bollard with blue on, it's only been in Argentina. It tends to be more towards the west and more towards the south. Just keep that in mind. And then you've got two other types of bollards that are kind of more of a European feel to them, but these have been found in Argentina as well, so just keep an eye out on that. And on the rare chance you may come across them. Tip number 5. Plonky have made a guide on their website, and they've also covered Argentina. I highly recommend checking out the website during this video to understand more on Argentina and getting better at it. I will be crediting their sources in upcoming tips in this video, so big shout out to them, and link to their guide will be put down below. Tip number 6. Argentina has a lot of mountains, and the mountains are mostly found on the west side of Argentina. You can also get this very red soil in Argentina, and when you get this very red soil, it should be on the panhandle. You can also get more of like a sandy-like kind of stuff on the side of the roads, and that is quite handy to be aware of for the far northern parts of Argentina. You won't really get that anywhere towards the far south, so just be aware of that. And of course, be aware there's quite a lot of vegetation, so it's sandy but very green. That's a good way to think about it. We've also got palm trees. So these palm trees you tend to find more towards the northern parts of Argentina. You can get it along the Paraná River more south, but you tend to get it in the far northeastern region. Tip number 7. So now we're going more south into Argentina, where it's getting more colder and drier and more sparse vegetation by rule of thumb. And this is probably the most generic part of Argentina, is this flat, barren, with like kind of, small clusters of vegetation spread out throughout the landscape. This is very typical for the more central southern parts of Argentina along this kind of red marked region. So be aware of that. And yeah, definitely keep that in notes. Okay, so this is where people can get confused between this and that. The main two differences is there's a lot less vegetation, and the vegetation doesn't grow as tall. So you tend to get more lichen and more mosses in the very far south part of Argentina, and it gives more of a tundra feel to it. Tip number 8. Okay, so when you see monkey puzzle trees in South America, and you're in this very cold, barren, and mountainous landscape with occasional snow on the top especially, should only be in either Chile or Argentina. And this is the region where you can only get these monkey puzzle trees along the Chile-Argentina border, but it is quite limited. Like it says here, if you follow the 23, you should see most of the monkey puzzle trees there. We can move on to tip number 9. Okay, so this is quite a more recent one, a special Generation 4 coverage, because I feel like it kind of puts it more, it makes it more obvious for the person to work out that they're on a salt plain. They're almost like very white lakes of some sort. So just be aware of that. And when you get these salt pans. I say salt plains for some reason, but it's salt pans. You are in the very far northwestern parts. So this is like towards the Chile and Bolivia border. And we can move on to the next one, which is the volcanic rocks that are visible. The reason why you can tell they're volcanic rocks is because they're very black, and you've also got a lot of like darker rocks, you know, throughout the landscape with much paler and brighter soil and sand. So just keep that in mind. So we get this with Generation 4. You should be along this road south of Antofagasta de la Sierra. And this is in northwestern Catamarca, which is pinpointed on this map. So if you see these volcanic rocks, go in this kind of region here. And finally, tip number 10. Okay, so this might be replaced in future coverage when there's Generation 4, but it's also important to be aware of when you get Generation 3 coverage. It is nicknamed the Sawdust Car, so in other words, you get a lot of like this spitting kind of like soil marks on the Google car. And when you get this, you should really only be in the central south parts of Argentina, and it is quite distinct at this certain pocket here. Feel free to explore in Street View. I don't think it's specific to one road, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, you will definitely improve Argentina. Another thing I've mentioned is the white car can only be found in Chile, Peru, or Bolivia. But that is technically wrong because you can get a white Google car in Argentina. Here is where the border is, and as you can tell, it's right along the border of Argentina. You do get this white Google car along this 231 for a little stretch. So be aware of that, and I feel like also these mountains are quite distinct, so if you don't have the Google car, you could probably work out you're along the border of Chile and Argentina in this national park kind of region here anyways. But yep, that is the video. Hope you found those tips useful. A big shout out to Plunkett for providing some very handy environmental tips. Check them out in the description down below. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video, which will be Uruguay. Yeah, of course,